Well, because you're from Manipur, I know this Manipur Hare Krishna melody.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Welcome, Radhika Das. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Today, you're regarded as one of the most recognizable voices in the global Bhakti Yoga movement, a Kirtan artist whose soulful music and devotional energy have touched hearts across continents. From packed spiritual festivals in London and New York to intimate gatherings in Mumbai and Berlin, your journey has been nothing short of inspiring. And I'm so thrilled to catch up with you ahead of your much anticipated Australian tour. But before that, Radhika, I have to let my curiosity win this one. Do people ever do a double take when they hear your name and then see you? Because I know, Radhika is traditionally a female name, and as I imagine, you've had some fun moments with that. Were you actually born Radhika?
Thank you so much for the question, and so grateful to be with you, Indira, this evening. Well, I don't know where in the world everyone will be listening to this, but here I am in Italy answering questions, and I'm hoping that I can serve in some way. Great question to start.
Mm.
No, I was not born Radhika Das. As a child, my name was Ravi. And, and when I met my spiritual teacher, then the name that was gifted upon me was Radhika Das, which means one who is uh, serving
Mm.
Radha, the feminine divine.
Yeah, you're sitting in Tuscany right now, isn't it? I'm curious. So, do you also have a following there in Italy?
Somehow, by God's grace, it seems like the following is going everywhere. But yeah, we have a really wonderful community of people that are here in Italy and near Florence. But also, I brought some people from across the world to have a retreat for 1 week, a bhakti retreat here.
Oh, how lovely. So, Radhika, tell me a little bit more about yourself before I proceed on to, other questions about your Australian tour, etc. You born and brought up in England? And how did,
I
your
was.
journey, sorry, and how did you land up in this, in this Kirtan singing world?
Thank you for asking. I was born and brought up in London. Um, yeah, went to school in the UK, lived my teenage and young adult life in the UK, and now it seems like I've become a man of the world and constantly traveling. But yeah, finding this practice, I was very curious as a teenager to find answers. I was looking for the answers to the big questions of life. Who is God? What is the real identity of the human being? Is there more than this body and mind? Is there such a thing as a soul? And so I was on a search for answers, and I came across a group of monks that were bhakti yogis that were absorbed in chanting. And they invited me to come to a few events and retreats. And before you know it, I was snapped up by the charisma and the wisdom that's offered in our Vedic texts, like Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam. And when I had graduated from university, already at university, I was sharing in front of quite large audiences. I remember we went out with a flyer, and I've never promoted anything in my life, but the flyer, it read, "What would you do if you had 24 hours to live?" And so I was giving these flyers out on campus, and the next day at the event, I put 3 chairs out because I thought, which students are going to want to listen to this? There's no way that young people are going to be interested as I am in these kind of deeper questions. But 75 students showed up. And then the week after, 150 students showed up. And that continued every week for 3 years while I was at university. So we would share philosophy topics like, wouldn't life be simple if apple and blackberry were just fruits? Karma, what goes around comes
Yeah.
around.
That's
Google versus God, etc.
yeah, interesting. So you would have been pretty young when you took up this, sort of calling in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I first met the monks in 2007.
Mm.
So that's now 18 years ago.
18 years ago. Okay. And so then so obviously so you instantly took to kirtan singing and all of that, isn't it? Now your kirtans are known to move the soul, but take us back a little. What was young Radhika like growing up in the UK? And where you met these souls, I mean, you met these, monks. That was definitely a defining moment or influence, I would assume, that drew you into this world
Yeah,
of Bhakti Yoga. But was it more of a gradual unfolding?
I think so. Because as a child, my mum, on the way to school, she would always play the Hanuman Chalisa. And I would kind of just, I'd be polite because I love and respect my mum. But at the time, I really wasn't interested in anything of the sort because I couldn't understand how sound
Mm,
can change consciousness.
mm,
But as I got older, I started listening to music myself. And I noticed that as I was listening to different genres of music, different emotions were rising in my heart or in my mind. And so when the monks would tell me that sound can alter consciousness, and what I mean by consciousness is your awareness. Like, for example, right now, you're aware of this conversation that's happening right now. You're perhaps aware of the things that you have to do later on in your evening. You're aware of your relationships on a broader level, your responsibilities. But what about an awareness of the spiritual? What about an awareness that you have a loving connection with God? And so this was something I was curious about. And when they told me that it was possible through sound, then it was almost like all the dots connected up from my childhood that, oh, yeah, my mum chanting and singing when she was younger, all the bhajans she was singing, they weren't just karaoke, weren't just Hindu karaoke, but there was something much deeper. They
mm.
were an opportunity for a soul connection.
Yeah, so interesting. Most of us find spirituality later in life, and I'm impressed that you found it early in life. And now from London to New York to Mumbai, your kirtans have become truly a global experience. And but before the packed venues,
Grateful.
but before the packed venues and millions of YouTube views, what was your very first kirtan experience like?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you about the first time I shared Kirtan. It's a very funny story. I was sharing in a studio in Shoreditch in London, East London, and I had a four-piece band with me, a drummer, a saxophone player, a singer, and a guitar player was there also. And we had set up, everything was ready, the sound system was ready, microphones ready, the cushions ready. I was expecting a few people to come. And it hit 7 o'clock, and I look at the room and it's empty. And so I'm waiting and I'm waiting, 5 past 7, 10 past 7, no one comes. Then all of a sudden, one lady, she opens the door and pops her head through the door just to see what's going on. And I enthusiastically said, yeah, yeah, come, 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 come. We're just about to start. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And so we started the chanting, we started kirtan. And initially, she was sitting on the cushion with her eyes closed. And then as the kirtan progressed and the chanting progressed, I look over at her and she's lying down on the floor. And I'm like looking at her like, what's going on? And then I close my eyes again and the tempo is increasing and it's getting quite joyous and ecstatic at one point. And I open my eyes and she's gone. And so in the initial point, there was maybe one, two, three, four, five people would come, then 10, then 50, then 100. And now we're at points where in certain places we're having 5,000, 10,000 people joining and chanting. And so it was a real inner calling, I have to say, Indira. Like I felt deeply sure that this was my calling. Like it's an internal thing. It's that when something is undeniable in your heart,
Mm.
then you have to live it. Otherwise, what would happen as I'd grow old and cold that I hadn't found that calling yet. So yeah, I'm very grateful to God, grateful to my teachers that this is all unfolded as it has. But it wasn't always so.
Yeah. And so when you say that, from very few numbers to how they've grown, what do you think resonates, you know, Kirtan with people? I mean, what is it that drove
Yeah,
them to put Kirtan?
I think it's that it's a very good question. I think it's that we all love sound. I don't know anyone that doesn't like music.
Mm,
Everyone has their own genre, and it makes them feel different emotions and think different thoughts. And so I think what really attracts people is that this chanting and kirtan is the playlist for the soul. This
mm,
sound vibration, it awakens that you're more than this body, more than this mind. You're the soul. You're the bird within a cage almost.
mm,
And this chanting, what it does is it awakens that inner self, that soul, to a loving connection with God.
mm,
Now imagine if you could have the opportunity to call lovingly to God on a daily basis, and you felt a genuine connection. It wasn't just a ritual or something that you were forced to do, but you genuinely felt something there. And I think that the people that are coming and attending, they are so sincere and they are such seekers on the path that when they do chant, they're feeling something. There's something more than just the hype and more than just the energy, but there's something deeply internal happening in that chanting that's attracting people to come in there, however many numbers they are now.
And they're not necessarily all Hindus, isn't it? It's just people who have that connection to sound. Like, for instance, people who do yoga,
Yeah.
not all of them are Hindus, but it's a certain level of connection,
Yeah.
that level of spirituality that people associate and identify
Yeah.
themselves with, isn't it? Mm,
Yeah. And that's what's been really astounding for me is that it's not just, in fact, initially, there were no Hindus that were coming. It was all Western persons of a Western Orient, people from all walks of life, corporates and yogis and business owners and housewives and husbands coming. All sorts of people were attending that were not of an Indian Orient. And I think what's happened is because there's been so much interest from the Western audiences that India has suddenly perked up its ears and said, oh, something's happening here.
mm,
So it's now becoming a worldwide movement of chanting, which is really beautiful. But what really I wanted to impress upon in this conversation was that the chanting is not meant just for one culture. If we read in the Srimad Bhagavatam, for example, which is an advanced scripture, it talks about how this chanting is universal, that every child has the opportunity to call for God. Every single person has the opportunity if they feel that this is something they want to discover in their life.
mm. Now, this will be your first time touring Australia with your show, which is called Mantra That'll Move the Soul.
Hmm.
What can audiences in cities like Melbourne, Brisbane, you're also performing Perth, isn't it? Expect from this
Hmm.
experience? Have you
Yeah,
studied the
well, you can
audience?
expect,
Yeah.
yeah, you can expect to hopefully receive a warm embrace, and I don't mean that I'll be standing at the door hugging you, but I'll be inviting everyone to be welcome, to hopefully relevantly and accessibly explain the practice, and to start off by chanting meditative and very internal focused mantras that will allow you to tap into the sound vibration. And then slowly we'll raise the tempo, and who knows, there'll be some dancing souls. In fact, I'm pretty confident there'll be a lot of dancing souls. That seems to be my USP, that the kirtan gets very ecstatic. And so you can expect to hopefully dance and chant, why not, as well. And my endeavor is that you walk away from the experience not just being entertained, but walk away contemplating that there is more to this life than just material consumption, that there's more to this life than just trying to fill bank balances and maintain family and trying to deal with the depressions and the frustrations of your mind, that
Hmm.
there is a solution to your internal mm, distaste. There is a solution. There is a way in which you can be happy in this world. And it's quite simple. All you got to do is stay with the sound vibration.
What made you want to tap the Australian audience?
Well, I think I've got enough Instagram DMs, direct messages to come through saying, please come to Australia. And so it's the other side of the world for me. Even when I go there, I'm sure I'll feel I'm upside down. But I'm just very much excited to see that this is a worldwide calling, that people are so much appreciating the chanting. And I think it's always special to see that different cultures, different walks of life, different countries, regardless of their cultural identities and ways of doing things, can appreciate a universal practice like this. I think it speaks volumes about the beauty of the practice.
Yeah. And your new book, Mantra Meditation, has touched thousands and even received praise from Jay Shetty, and is another UK compatriot, I'm sure, for you. What
Yeah, dear
inspired,
friend of mine, a dear brother.
yeah, what inspired you to write it, and how does it connect with your music?
Yeah, well, I decided that if I wanted to propagate and share the practice of chanting with as many people as possible, then we have to be in every medium that we can, which means that not just in the format of audio, but in a written format, because so many people are avid readers. People think that nowadays people don't read. They only read social media, only read Facebook and Instagram. But actually, when you look at the statistics of bookshops, they're selling more books than ever. And so I wanted to get down my feelings, thoughts, the history, the practice, the lineage. I wanted to share it in a way that was true to me. And it's received a lot of kind of appreciation. I think globally we've sold something like 30,000 copies since inception, since we published in the UK. So it's really something that I'm very proud of and very grateful that I've had the opportunity to do. But I just wanted to try and give people the opportunity to read about the practice whilst not feeling the guilt of it being a religious text. I wanted to translate it in a way that people could access it. So you could give this book to your children, you could give it to a friend, give it to a neighbor, and be rest assured that it's got fun, accessible, and relevant language in it that people can go, yeah, this isn't condescending, this isn't harsh, this isn't rule abiding. It's an open and very sweet and kind practice.
Radhika, Kirtan is a deeply traditional practice rooted in Bhakti Yogi. How do you strike a balance between staying true to its origins while also making it resonate with modern audience?
Yeah, for me, I have to just keep good anchors. What I mean by that is if you want to keep a ship in the right place, you have to anchor it down. And for me, those anchors are having good teachers. I have several teachers that I write about in my book that have still to this day, I can call them, text them, email them with questions and thoughts and concerns and my inner struggles. I'm a human being, inner struggles myself. And so to have good anchors and mentors, gurus, teachers, that then it doesn't mean that I'm making it up as I go along, but rather that I'm staying true to the tradition. I'm staying true to the practice as best I can. I may change the detail. For example, I don't wear robes. I don't shave my head. I don't put any markings on my forehead. But that's because I'm trying to be more universal. I'm trying to make people understand that, yes, you may have some problems with religion, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. What I mean by that is when you're bathing a child, you get rid of the dirty water at the end of the bath, but you don't throw the baby away with it. And so in the same way, the spiritual religious traditions of the Vedas, the ancient Sanatan Dharma, this is something that's not just about rituals on its own. There's an essence there. And that essence is bhakti, loving devotion. And so does it mean that just because you don't dress a certain way, you cannot access bhakti? Does it mean that you don't speak the language, you cannot access bhakti? So I'm trying to make it such that by having good anchors,
I just lost you there.
I can accessibly and relevantly share this practice with people.
Mm. Also, do you think that, doing away with this paraphernalia of not wearing their
Oh,
robe, etc., etc., draws you to people, into this form of devotional music in this digital age?
by doing away with the robes, I think, yes, it does make me more accessible.
Mm,
But I'm not a proponent that everyone needs to do away with the robes. I'm not saying that everyone needs to stop wearing the robes and stop
mm,
being in the temples. I
mm,
don't think it's a this or that.
mm,
I think it's a this and that.
mm,
So there should be kirtan happening in the temples, not just on stage and not just in concert venues. It should go on in the temples in the authentic and the way that the history has advocated. But I think that it shouldn't just be only reserved for the temples. It's meant for every single place, every single time. So, yes, for me, I think it has made me more accessible and relevant, but I
mm,
don't think it's impossible to be accessible and relevant whilst wearing robes.
mm.
Basically, what I'm saying, at least just do it.
Yeah,
Whatever way you do it, do
yeah.
it.
Radhika, in today's age and time, we have so much stress, disconnection. Do you think mantra and kirtan is a collective healing tool? And how has it also helped you personally?
Yes, it's a healing tool. Mantra, man means the mind. Tra is short for trayate, which means to free, to liberate, to overcome. So mantra means that which liberates the mind. And so even if you're coming without a desire for God, even if you're coming without a desire for bhakti, even
Mm,
if you're coming without a desire for deep spiritual impression, then at least what will happen is through chanting, your mind will be at peace. Because through the power of sound, we can transport our mind. So
mm,
it alleviates the mental stresses that we feel. So even if you're someone that is not so much interested in religion and spirituality in its deepest form, then this can bring you calm and joy. It's a formula for peace, calm, and joy. And for me personally, I think it did that in many different ways. I've had many instances where one, for example, is when I had a breakup happen with my girlfriend. And I mean, now we're married and everything worked out. But you know, in relationships, how it can be that one minute you're together and the next minute it's all not all roses. But in that time where things were going up and down in our relationship, I needed a constant companion. I needed a constant connection. And for me, when things were not going well, for me to turn to my mala or to turn to a harmonium and sing my emotions in the direction of God, it gave me a lot of inner peace
mm,
that in the grand scale, everything's going to be okay.
mm. Finally, as someone who bridges East and West through spiritual music, what is your hope for the future of devotional arts in contemporary culture?
My hope is that more artists are willing and able to express and share spiritual practices through music. I hope that this is just the beginning, that more and more pop artists are interested in introducing the name of God, the name of divinity, sacred names like these mantras that I chant into their music. I, I hope that we can create a worldwide revolution of deep devotion through the sound vibration of kirtan. I hope that that's going to be possible. I hope that it becomes mainstream culture and no longer frowned upon as something that only fully right-wing people will practice. That only, people who are orthodox and traditional only will sing. No, why? Let it be that everyone can confidently share that they love God too.
Yeah. What's your message for Australia ahead of your tour?
Message for Australia. I'm deeply excited to be with you, to chant mantras that will move your soul, to live a life less ordinary by chanting and dancing with you all. And I'm looking forward to meeting all of you. So please be there in big numbers. I can't wait to chant with you.
Thank you so much for your time with the Indian Sun. I hope you have a great tour of Australia.